All right, so we're live. Welcome to the Booktubers and Brews live show. I have Gwen with me. Gwen, Gwen, if you want to say a little bit about your channel, I actually have her channel linked down below, so make sure you guys go click on that so you can subscribe.
Okay, so my channel name is Gwen Kesinger, which is obviously my name. I like reading a lot of adult thrillers. I like reading like rom-com, romance, contemporary. I like poetry a lot, like more modern poetry. I have been trying to read like a few more classics and stuff like that, but mainly contemporary, mainly thrillers, some romance.
Yeah, so we read pretty similar then, because that's kind of what I view myself as. Like, I do throw in a lot of like nonfiction. I'm like a self-help like fanatic, but like definitely, yeah, thrillers, romance, and then some contemporary for me.
That's
so
cool.
I don't know how, but like YouTube needs to get their algorithm like much better, because I didn't know about you before until like a month ago.
I'm so glad you know about me now.
Like, I wish I had been like watching your channel for, forever now, because yeah, I mean, I love your personality, but then also our reading taste.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's see. We have some people hopping on so far. Hi, Jess. We're going to be talking about the book Dry by Neal Shusterman. And I guess it's his son too, Jared Shusterman as well. So I actually got my copy from Book Outlet, and I do have my link down below if you guys want to go check it out. Like, I am a vlogger friend with them, and I didn't check actually before this live show to see if it was still in stock, but I think this only cost me like $4. So if you haven't watched it yet and you're tuning in right now, like, we will be talking about spoilers later, but if you haven't watched it yet, or maybe if you want to go like, I don't know, get a copy for somebody if you like loved it, I can send you guys my copy. I'm just kidding.
I think that's where I got mine back when I got it, possibly, but it was a while ago. It's just been sitting on my shelf, and then we did this. I was like, yay, finally gonna read it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I am glad that I've read it. Before Dry, I only read one other Neal Shusterman, and I mean, yeah, everyone raves about Scythe, but I actually read Unwind a couple years ago, and I did like that. I'm pretty sure I rated it like 4 or 5 stars. So I'm actually drinking hard cider because I'm like obsessed with hard cider. Gwen, what do you?
I have some Pinot Noir, and because I've had a headache all day, I have water. So trying to keep the balance.
That's what I need to drink. My liquids consist of coffee, hot tea, and alcohol.
Yeah.
Those are mine. So yeah, when I'm like reading this book, I'm like, who cares about water? Like,
that was the thing, like it being centered around water. And here, like where I live in Virginia, there was like so much rain, and I would be like, oh my gosh, it's raining again. Yeah. And then I was like, why am I complaining? Hold up, like, don't complain right now. So yeah. Put things in perspective.
I was actually, I was finishing up the audiobook today, like on my morning walk, and there for a second, I think it was because I was exercising though, but I actually was getting thirsty, and I was like, okay, like I think I can relate a little bit to the characters now, because I'm actually thirsty for once. But yeah, so let's see. I'm going to put some of these up here on the screen. So Christine, you loved this book. You had it on your TBR for a while. Good. Oh, I'm so glad that you read it for the live show.
Yeah.
And then hi, Jess and Darlene. And let's see, Penny is here for spoiler time. Oh, hard pineapple cider. Oh my gosh. That does sound so good. That's one thing I'm really sad about being quarantined is I like prepare for all the wine festivals in the summer.
Yeah.
No, I probably won't be able to go to them.
Yeah, I usually get really good mead at the local wine fest here. And of course, I'm not going to be able to do that.
I know, because so my birthday is in May, which, oh yeah, we talked about that, because that's the video idea you thought I was doing. But yeah, normally I go to this like big wine festival, you know where Massanutten is? Because we both live in Virginia. We don't live next to Massanutten. No, but anyway, I usually go to a big wine festival there, like right on my birthday weekend, and so I'm like,
fun.
Yeah, I know, but I can't go this
Not
year. This is gonna be my. It was gonna be my fourth year in a row. I know. So you'll have to come next year with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. Hi, Allie. Can't stay long because I don't want to be spoiled. Aw.
I know. We love you.
Oh no. Well, Kat, you'll have to actually stop watching this as soon as we get into spoilers, and then you can come back. It'll still be on my channel, so you can come back and watch it. I know. We're gonna get a big group together. So sad. So we have 16 people watching. Do we want to, I'll let you're much better at like describing books.
Oh no.
You are so good. Like, I feel like I'm like, yeah, this book, it had these characters and it did this. And like, you're so good. But do you want to give a non-spoilery?
Like a little synopsis?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So like we said, it's Drive by Neal Shusterman and his son, which I wonder how much, each person wrote, because it felt very Neal Shusterman to me.
Right. I did hear that the audiobook was actually him and his son, I guess, like doing, because I listened to some of the audiobook, but.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't know that. But yeah, I wonder like how much they wrote or like how much was together. Yeah. I guess I could have looked it up, but I didn't. So anyway, this is about, basically it's set in Southern California, and they have cut off water. There's like a river thing or something that they're not feeding water anymore. They're dangerously low. So they're reserving everything that they have for important things. And I was assuming like hospitals, things like that they like people that definitely needed water to keep going. So they were cut off. And of course, it felt very close, like, not being with something that's dire. But so it's basically about these teenagers, a group of teenagers that are dealing with the fallout of that, not having water. And that's basically it. But what I liked about it is that it was told in several parts, and there were several POVs, but there were also like snapshots and stuff like that of things that were happening outside of the group of teenagers. So that's one of the things I liked about it.
That's funny because I'm the opposite. That's one of the reasons why I didn't like it. So by the way, Gwen,
I rated it 5 stars.
Everyone's not shocked or surprised that me over here. I don't know what I'm rating it yet. It might be like, I guess I'm going to have to do a weird like 2.5 or something like that, because there were some parts that were like decent. And then there were some parts where I was like, I should just put this book down right now, but it's for a live show, so I can't. So, but that was one of the things that like, I really am not a big fan of multiple POVs unless it's done like a certain way. Like I can only think of one book where I like paid attention to how they wrote or how she wrote the POVs and how I like loved it, even though a bunch of characters were in that. And I don't know if you've read All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. That one is like, so that one, like there were so many characters, but like, it was just, I don't know, it was so good the way that she wrote it. And so that's like the only way, or the only time I've like seen it done, like where I loved it that way.
Yeah, I didn't think there were too many POVs. It's basically like the main POVs, there's like 3 POVs. And really, I mean, it's Alyssa's story, in my opinion. It's Alyssa's story. And then her neighbor comes in, so he gets a perspective, and other people. But their parts are so small, so it didn't feel too like multi-POV to me. But the reason why I liked the snapshots, this kind of reminded me a lot of The Walking Dead. But you only get the Rick Grimes group view and what they're seeing. And you're only rooting for the Rick Grimes group. So you're like, but maybe if I was following these people over here, I'd be rooting for them. So to be able to like scan back, and look at other POVs and see it from other people's perspective, the same thing, but like happening in different parts, like, an airport, on the news, an activist, all these other places, you get to see other things, and you could see it from their point of view, even though it wasn't like a technical point of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there was only like 5 POVs, I guess.
Yeah.
But one of the problems that I had with it was, and I feel like this is done a lot with YA novels, or at least the ones that I've read, is I felt like it was so hard for me to distinguish a difference between characters.
Okay.
And so when I'm reading, I always feel like I'm just reading from the same person, and I lose track of who I'm even reading from, and I have to go back.
That.
Yeah, I have to go back and be like, what's the name of this? Like, oh, I'm reading Jackie's perspective or something.
Yeah.
Like,
and I recently did like a try a chapter tag. It'll be coming out later. But anyway, there were like two guys, and I thought it was the same guy. It was like Mark and Paul and Adam or something like that. And I was like, all these normal white boy names, and I like they're all the same. Like, who are these white boys, and are they the same person?
Yeah.
But this one I thought felt different because like the families were involved a little bit. So
yeah. Have you read Top Secret?
No.
Okay, that one, like, it only has like two guys in it, like, for POVs, and I could not, like, every single chapter I was like, okay, which one is this again? Like, it seems like the other one, and I just kept getting them mixed up. To this day, I still don't even know what they look like in my head because they're the same person.
That's how I felt about the Sundown Motel, the recent thriller that I read.
Yeah.
It was two girls. It was like her aunt and her, and literally like everything about them was the same, but except for like one took place in the 80s and one place was taking place in 2017. But like, other than their names, like if you didn't pay attention to the chapter where it said like their name and the year or whatever, you were like so confused because the voices didn't sound different at all. Like I could have literally name swapped them and would have really been confused.
Yeah.
But like they had the same kid, like it was like a guy helping both of them, a girl helping both of them. They were both interested in the same things. They were both working the same places. And I was like, how am I supposed to keep this straight?
Oh, I hate that. Yeah, I hate that. It looks like we have a lot of people that are agreeing with you, Gwen.
Yay!
So
Nicole! Christine!
Yeah, so just what you said and also what Christine said, like that is what I did like about the book is that I love survival stories.
Yes,
like
I do too.
So much. Yeah. And so I think my main fault, like so the thing is like, sometimes I rate books low and I'm like, that's a terrible book. Like, I don't know why people would ever want to read that. But like this book, I rated it low because it wasn't for me, or it wasn't written the way that I wanted it to be written. But I know like I don't fault people for like liking this book because I can see how people would like it.
Right.
So it's still like a great book. But if you're like me and you don't really like YA that much, or multiple POVs or whatever, or you wanted it to be like darker.
Right. I get that. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is kind of like,
I know. I remember when we first posted that we were going to be reading this, people were like, ooh, do you really want to read it right now? And I think that if you do have anxiety about like this subject matter, like maybe you shouldn't, because a lot of things definitely do happen, which we'll get into. But so don't read it if this time right now is making you like super anxious, super nervous, or anything like that. But it's quite different from what we're personally experiencing. But just be aware, take care of yourself first.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into spoilers for those of you that are watching. If you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, then you can come back at another time. This live show will be still on my channel. But because I want to start talking about like the story and how it progressed and stuff, we're going to start from the beginning and go through. So like, what you and everyone else is saying is like, it does, I feel like I could relate to it a little bit more because of what's happening. So I know I mentioned in like last week's Read with Friends live show, when I first started reading it, like I was super into it and like entertained because, you know, they were running out of water and they had to like run to the store and
that
like
get water scene. I was like, I felt that. That.
Exactly. I was like, this is toilet paper right now. Like this is actually happening. Whereas I feel like if we weren't in this time and I would have read this book, like say, I don't know, like 3 months ago, I might have even liked it a little less because I might have even been like, that seems kind of unrealistic. Like I highly doubt that Costco would be out of water bottles, you know? But now that I know that, hey, they ran out of toilet paper, like, I don't know. Now, one thing I did find a little weird that I wish they would have changed is it seemed to happen too quickly, in my opinion, where like, okay, they broadcasted that like, you know, the water was being shut off, and then like all of a sudden the next day, like everyone's dying of thirst and there's water zombies or water zombies.
I think what happened is that the book kind of started day one, water's cut. But I think there was a little, I didn't mark it or anything, but I think there was a little part that talked about how the powers that be were kind of talking about this, like this can happen and stuff like that. But I think that where it starts, all that has already happened. So we're just starting, she's going to give the dog water or whatever it is.
Okay.
What's happening? The water is officially off now. So I think it was like a buildup before the book started that happened. So I think like someone like you may have benefited from that to kind of see like how it all started and stuff like that, where this really starts day one. This is what's happening.
Yeah. Cause like, I don't know, in my head, I feel like everyone ran out of water just too quickly. Whereas,
but how much water do you have in your house right now? If your water was, you went right now after this live show and went to go get water. How much water do you have on you right now? And then let's say you were like, oh crap, we're out of water. Like, let me run to Costco, and you go to water and there's no water on the shelves. Like, how much water do you have on hand?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think a lot of people, unless they're like Kelton's family, no one has enough water.
But don't people like I don't drink bottled water. I just drink like the filtered water out of my fridge. But like there's some people that like have like so much bottled water in their house, or like so much soda. Like I don't drink anything else but coffee. So like the people that have like Powerades and soda and stuff, I felt like just like every single drink on the planet like just kind of disappeared, it seemed like.
Right, that's true.
Because it was like, well, what happened to all the soda and the Powerade? Like people drink that on a daily basis,
but
and
they
don't
did
drink
talk
water.
about that. But they did talk about that, how when she went to Costco and she passed by whatever it was, and she was like, oh, they still have that. No worries. Let me go get water. And then she was like, oh, crap, they're out of water. Let me go back for that. And then that was gone as well. So I get like you would have some amount of liquid drink in your house. But I think water is important for so many other things than just something to drink. You know, like when her dad was making that pasta and he had to like soak the pasta in the sauce to like make it edible.
I mean, and you don't think about that because I had it was actually probably like almost 2 years ago, Thanksgiving, we ran out of, like, we didn't have power for 5 days. And like, number one, it was winter, so you're freezing cold. But like, number two is like, you don't have water. And then like a year later, our pipes like busted and we had to like redo all the pipes in our house, and we didn't have water again. And like, you know, you're like going to work and you're like, wow, I can't get a shower. Like I can't make food. I can't do anything.
And that was like that toilet thing that came. I was like,
oh gosh, I hated that so much. I was like, no, like at least I was going to work, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I was like, oh my gosh, when they that scene, like, but to me, like, I love scenes like that. Like, I want it to be like dark and real and like, I don't know, like crawl under your skin or whatever.
Like, oh, I don't even want to imagine. And I totally saw that coming when he went to go get the cleaner. I was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
I know. I could not believe that, like, he bleached the water on accident. Like, that was just like, oh my gosh. But that's the thing, like, I feel like they should have, like, if they knew, like, if you live in California and you know there's a water problem and the news started talking about it, why didn't they fill up like jugs in the bathtub and stuff?
Well, this is kind of the thing, and this is where it gets a little tricky to talk about, because you have the thing like that happened in New Orleans and things like that, where they do give you forewarning, and some people take it seriously, and some people have been living here forever and they always warn us of that, and it's never happened before, and then this is the time that it happened. So you always kind of do have to be prepared in that way a little bit. And I think that's what makes it so scary, is because like anytime, like here, when we have like a hurricane thing, like you go to the store and they're like, they're out of bread, they're out of milk, they're out of eggs, they're out, you know, so people do in this area, because I especially live like kind of in a military-ish town. So I think people do take things like that seriously. But if you're just used to it as like common knowledge and you've just heard it all before and nothing's ever happened, like maybe you'd be like, oh, they're planning to shut off the water again. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So it just depends. But what I really liked about it, I thought that the perspectives were very different. Do you want me to talk about those, or
Sure.
do you want to talk about those?
You talk about them since you like the different perspectives.
Okay, so the main one, like I said, was Alyssa. And I liked that the families were a part of it. This is YA, and I don't read a lot of YA. I was telling Jacqueline this, like, I used to read a lot of YA, then I like totally switched over to adult, and now it's very rare that I pop back into YA, and usually when I do, I don't like it a lot. And one of the reasons, besides the writing just being a little immature for me personally, is that the families of these teenagers, when it's happening, they're just like totally absent. You're like, what the heck is going on? Like, where's the parents? Maybe that's the teacher in me. I don't know. But I liked that the parents were in here, and I liked that maybe they didn't have like Alyssa's family was kind of like briefly in it, and then they were gone pretty much the whole book. And then Kelton's parents, that was a very interesting dynamic, but I like that his parents were also in it. And then we had Jackie, which I thought that was so funny that there was a character.
I did not realize there was a character.
We planned this. But I liked that she was like older, and she was kind of like on her own. Like her parents weren't in it. So I like that we had the both. We had like characters that their parents were in it, parents that they weren't. But I thought the most interesting character was Henry, because as soon as they went to his house, we'll say, because was it really his house? Like, I was just like, ooh, I don't like this guy. Something is going off in my brain telling me no. So yeah, but I thought his character development and story arc was very interesting. And I felt like it was very different than, say, like Alyssa and Kelton and Jackie's. And I like that we did get a little bit of Garrett, which is Alyssa's brother. I like that we had him but he did seem like a little unrealistic to me. And I guess that's another reason how we really differ, Jackie, in our reading taste, is like, you need things to be realistic. Where I'm like, this is fiction. It's made up, people. It's not supposed to be real. Or you hope it's not real, And I think you like a lot of nonfiction. So I think that's, you like a lot of nonfiction. You like things based in facts and stuff like that. Whereas I'm reading and I'm like, if any of this makes sense, like,
I also like it to be realistic to me, just because I think like, oh, what would I do in that situation? So if it's like, oh, they got saved by flying on a pony, I'm like, well, that doesn't help me. Like, if I'm in this situation later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of funny that like Alyssa was like so smart about like, oh, we should try this. Let's go get the ice. I don't even think I would have thought of that. Would you? I was like, when they didn't have the water, and she was like, oh, let's go get bags of ice. I would not have thought of that. That would have been like up to my husband to think about that. Yeah. I would have just been panic mode. But so she was a little unrealistic, like thinking all of these things. And I do think it was convenient that Kelton's family was so prepared. Like, you just happen to have this person right next door that's so prepared for this type of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be somebody in the world that's like prepared, and someone's going to be living next to them. But I actually liked Kelton's family.
I did too.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel like Neal tried to portray like Kelton's dad as like this evil person. But I actually was like almost rooting for his dad. Like when his dad, when that neighbor like came over and was like saying like, give me water, like for my baby and stuff. Like, I mean, not that I would be like a horrible person, but like I understood why his dad wasn't giving it to him, because it's like, well, if you are that prepared, like it's the same as like in The Walking Dead, how they're like so careful with who they bring in. And that's what, like, if the world is ending, like you do have to be careful. And that's one thing I didn't like about Alyssa, is she was just like, we need to
everybody.
Help the
world. Right.
No,
but I thought that was a good balance. Like, she was like, let's save the world. And Kelton, of course, from his dad's like bringing up and stuff, he was like, dude, like if you give one, you're going to end up giving all. Like,
Right. Yeah. And the thing is like, just because somebody else prepared doesn't mean that they're responsible for saving the rest of the world. Because like I'm a very big, like, I don't even know how to explain that, but like to me, that's very important. It's like, well, just because like you're a good worker doesn't mean you have to do everyone else's work. You know what I mean?
Right. I feel you right there.
Yeah,
I felt that.
So when I read that, I was like, yeah, go Kelton's dad. I was like,
yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard because like, you would want, like, if you weren't the prepared one, or if you ran out of gas, let's just say you're driving to work, you run out of gas, you hope there's a good Samaritan out there that's going to pull over. What can I do for you? Oh, I just happen to have this extra tank of gas for you, you know, or drive you to the gas station or whatever. So you always do hope to like lean on your neighbors in a way, but at the same time, gray area. It is definitely a gray area. So I liked that they balanced it. Alyssa was like, let's help the world. And Kelton was like, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Now, so it's funny how you said you liked the book because of the parents like being in there. And I disliked the book because I felt like they weren't in there enough. It was just like all of a sudden, poof, the parents are gone. And then it's just reading about these teenage kids running around. Like,
I mean, they weren't in there a lot, but at least I knew that like, it wasn't like
that you heard about them.
Right. I heard about them. Like, okay, these kids aren't just like solo living on their own. And Alyssa's parents do poof pretty early on in the story. And that was kind of annoying that I felt like that was like one part of it. Like the journey through the story was like, okay, so what actually happened to them? And I didn't actually care for that part of the story as much as I did just them fighting, exploring the human condition, while we're at our best mentally, I mean, our best and our worst mentally, physically, and that balance of save the world, not save the world, save yourself first. Like, you know, I think they even said in the book, like, put on your oxygen mask first before you help other people type thing. So I liked that, but I thought that it showed like a lot of hope through following your gut. You have to let someone in. Like, you just can't do drastic situations like this by yourself. Like, even currently, with the whole thing that's going on in the world, like we're all quarantined in our house, you know, and I know there's people out there that are single living by themselves and that could be really hard. So they need to like maybe reach out. And I think that that's kind of what Alyssa had to do was she realized like it was her and Garrett, if they don't kind of let these other people in, and then also like never giving up, you know, just kind of like pushing through and as much as you can, I guess.
Yeah. There was another point I was going to make and I forgot. Sorry. My mind. No, that's okay. So I guess, I'll kind of, we can talk more about the middle, but like fast forwarding to the end. I think I just expected out of a survival type of book that it wasn't going to be as wrapped up in a pretty little bow. And so that was another, like the end part, it was starting to get a little fast paced again there. And I was like, okay, we're finally going to know like what happened to, you know, the parents. But then I just didn't like that all of a sudden 2 weeks later, everything was back to normal. And
well, I don't think it was like perfectly back to normal. I think like, how are we going to go back to normal after what we're dealing with right now? So I don't think it was perfectly wrapped up. But I don't think it was predictable because I think there were things that happened in the middle with like Kelton's brother and that one place that they were trying to go, like, I guess the bug. What was it called? The bug.
Yeah, something like that. Where the bug out.
Yeah. The bug out. They were trying to go to the bug out, which I was like, why do people actually call their safe house like the bug out? Like whatever.
Why is it when you said bug, I immediately thought Animal Crossing?
I love you for that. Oh my gosh. But the bug out. So there was like that, but then like, that scene between Alyssa and her brother at the end.
Yeah, where like she was trying to get him to drink water. Is that what you mean?
Well, not only that, but she was like, he was going down and they always talked about how like right before like the dire end, like people would get the second burst of energy and then they were like going like to that over that cliff or something like that, or they were going towards it and then they realized like it's a cliff and she's like, oh crap. And then I marked it. So it's like pretty far into the book. Yeah, it says there isn't a slope on that side of the hill. There's a cliff, a sheer drop, at least 50 feet. There's no way down but the way we came, which means we're cornered. And then where she like, they have that gun still and she like walks over to him and it says, I pull out the gun that has been shoved uncomfortably in my waist ever since Colton gave it to me. And I hide it so Garrett doesn't see. And then later on, it talks about, I love you, Garrett. Then I grip the trigger, feeling the gun's weight. And then it's breaking me. He says, and then Garrett says in the faintest of whispers, do it, Alyssa. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't want to see the gun or me. So I press the muzzle against that space between his ear and his eye where the hair is soft and short and soft. Do it, please. For someone to be at that point where they're just like,
yeah.
Could you imagine like your husband or your best friend or your sister or whatever saying like, Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're trying to hide it, but I know what you're doing. And yes, please do this. Can't. I was like, no, please, something happened to stop this.
Yeah.
So that was pretty hard to read because I was like, me and my sister, we don't talk, but we have a very backstory. But I just, even with that, like to get to that point that like we have tried everything we possibly can. And now we're at the end. That was just, oh, that got me. So I think there was enough that was like heart pumping and it kept you on your toes. Like, oh my gosh, is this the end type thing to make me enjoy it.
Yeah. And for like, since this is a YA novel, like for a young adult reading that, like that's very dark for them.
Yeah. So that's why I felt like you wanted it like more dark. And I think for the YA audience, they went like as dark as they could, I mean, that's pretty dark,
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that's straight out of a adult novel as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty dark. And there were a couple other instances like when more like in the middle or towards the middle of the end, if that makes sense, but where they go to visit Alyssa, Kelton, and Jackie. I think they've made it to Dove Cannon to Herb, their uncle's house, and then his girlfriend with that whole scene and how she's basically dying and in bed and how it smelled and stuff like this. And that was just like, oh, like that's just, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I always wonder I mean, they did talk about it a little bit at the beginning where like, I think it was Kelton, like when the water zombie was there and they were going to like shoot the water zombie and then like Jackie took the gun or whatever. But I'm always surprised when like kids know how to like shoot guns really well and kill people in novels.
Scary. Yeah, it is scary.
Yeah, because then like it was Kelton that shot those two guys later on, but it's like, I don't know, like if you didn't have water, because I mean, I have no clue. Like I've never like gone shooting or anything. And so I always like think about it. Like if I was in that situation and you didn't have water for, I don't even know how long how long the book went on for, but like, would you have done that? Like, especially if you were a teenager, like, would you have done that?
I think that not having water, like they say you can go longer without food than you can water.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends. In that scene that you're talking about, Alyssa's like older than them. So I think Alyssa's like 16. She felt older than that to me, but I mean, it just may be the circumstances, but Jackie was like 19 and she was the one that was on her own, kind of like staying in people's places when they weren't there, which I wanted to hear more about that. I was like, side story, because I want to hear about her life. So I feel like she would have to protect herself, like being on her own. And she's probably used guns and knives before just because like her living on the streets, basically breaking into people's houses, having to defend herself if they get home. So I totally believe that she was able to take the gun. And I think that Kelton, because of that incident, he was able to kill the people later on, those two guys later on, because his dad had been training him pretty much his whole life to use guns and shoot and stuff like that. So I think by that point, he was like, if I don't do it, they're going to get us. And I made the mistake before, so it's now or never. So I thought it was believable a little bit for the story.
Yeah. I thought it was believable when Alyssa was in, I don't know, was it the bunker or whatever, but where that like old lady was. And she was like, do I save Garrett? Would I actually kill this lady? Or is like that going to be on my conscience? But like, I have to think about my brother. Like I feel like that's what a real human being would be like, just because it's like your immediate reaction isn't to kill the person. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, everybody's different, I guess. I guess I'm saying in my, like what I related to, it was like, okay, well, Alyssa wasn't just like, let's save the world at that moment. It was like, okay, it's my brother or this lady. Like, which one am I choosing? Like, I have to choose one. But then like still being like, but then I have to think about how I killed someone for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
That was rough. Yeah. So you said you didn't like the snapshots. Was there like a reason why? Did it just like take you out of the story, or?
I didn't feel any particular way about the snapshots. very much. I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't like him as much. I don't really like, so here's the thing, like, I don't really like books that even do the whole, like, there were different parts in this, but like, I don't really like when they're like, okay, 10 years later, or like, okay, I don't know how to explain it, but like when I'm reading about something, I guess because I'm such a visual person, I like have to put so much of myself into a book to be like, okay, this is what I think people look like. This is what I'm imagining them doing. And then when all of a sudden it's like, this is what happened with You Are Not Alone. Like when it's like, oh, let's go 10 years in the future. Let's go 5 years behind. Like, let's go 3 years over here. Then I'm like, wait a second. Like I have to think about everything all over again. And it's really hard to get back into that stuff again. And so the snapshots weren't anything like amazing in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that I kind of had to learn to let go of that a little bit. And I think that's helped me just like in reading in general, because I used to like read these like YA fantasies because like I was not an adult fantasy person. I don't think I still am, but trying to like picture that in the world, and like I needed to know how to pronounce the names and the places, and like if it didn't have a map, I had to like draw out a map, like at least in my head, you know, type thing. And like I was just like, oh, this is so draining. I just can't. But then I read The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and there was so much that I was not understanding that I was like, screw it. I don't understand that. I'm just going to keep reading. And like, eventually I kind of started understanding. So I think that really helped me, because I read like the first 2 books in that series, and it's like an adult fantasy series actually, but I haven't read the 3rd book yet. It came out a while ago and I'm just behind. But I think that there are certain books that you just have to like understand, like, okay, this isn't going to make sense, or I don't understand how this would play out, or why this is important. And you just have to like be able to gloss over that a little bit.
Yeah. I did like, I feel like kind of a message that we're getting from Neal was like, not to just always trust the government. I was going to actually like page the actual page, but it was in the beginning. I don't remember where, because I was too lazy and I didn't. But there were just like multiple different comments about how like it was right in the beginning when they were watching, like when the news was like broadcasting, and it was like, oh, you know, they're telling us not to panic, but like in reality, like we should be. And
the snapshot of the KZLA news is on page 43. And I guess there was something else that was going on at the time too. Oh, it was Hurricane Noah. Yeah. So Hurricane Noah was going on, and it's the only thing on FEMA's radar right now. But this news anchor was saying like, we need to be looking into this more and stuff like that. So in the midst of the mayhem earlier today, the governor had this to say and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think that that's like a real thing, that basically the media and the news and, you know, all of that kind of chooses what to focus on, while people are like, what's going on about this, you know? And then sometimes I think things are in the news too much. So
yeah, well, because, and I think either someone told me or I read about this recently, but that, and I don't know if it's real or not. I have no clue, because I try not to watch the news. But there was even something about like with the coronavirus where like they were broadcasting somewhere else, or like, I don't know, showing, I think they were like showing hospitals somewhere else, but it was actually Italy hospitals, to make it seem like it was worse than it actually was, or something like that. I don't know. So it was just like, you know, reading this book and then like Neal kind of like dropping these little hints or whatever. And I was like, like what you were saying about trusting your gut, like this book was a lot about trusting your gut. And it's like, well, yeah, like the government can't just always take care of you, like with everything. Yeah. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was surprised about how, like, I don't know, I was a little surprised when like they went to the beach, like when they were trying to find their parents. They went to the beach and like no one really told them what happened, or like or or like it was just like nobody was there anymore or whatever, but then their parents like went to the hospital Or like the dad went to the jail and the mom went to the hospital.
That's what I'm saying. If you're, because weren't there like guards or something like that? Yeah. They were like, get away. I don't know if it was like FEMA people or government people or whatever. I don't remember. But there were like people with guns like saying like, get away. Like there's nothing to see here type thing. And there was nobody else there. But like, how hard would it have been?
Yeah.
For whoever they bumped into to say there was a big accident. People are being shipped to hospitals.
Yeah. Because I honestly didn't know, like, I was like, so did everyone get, like, shot? Like, what happened? Because didn't they say something about there was a body in the ocean? Yeah, there was bodies floating in the ocean, and then, like, all the machines were, like, destroyed and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was a little weird to have, like, for me, that was a good dark scene at the beginning. And then it was like, wait, so your mom just had a broken rib and got sent to the hospital and your dad went to jail where there was water. That was convenient.
But I'm thinking like, so you know your kids are going to be freaking out.
Yeah.
Like if it was only the mom, which I think it was, the dad needed to leave. Like who cared? Like these kids got out of so much crazy situations that the dad could have broken away even if they were holding him down, like elbowed the guy and ran or something. Like I don't know, but he could have broken away and like found a way to contact his children to let you know like, hey, mom's here, everything's fine. Like I don't know, that was crazy.
Yeah. Or like how come they didn't have their cell phones? Like if the mom was in the hospital, because you know how they were calling the cell phones and they were like, it just keeps ringing and there were cell phones on the beach. But like, why were the cell phones on the beach?
Yeah.
And why weren't they in their pockets?
Yeah, I think it was just like the mad rush to like get to the machines, and that's why they were all destroyed and stuff. So maybe there was a lot of mayhem. Maybe it got a little crazy. That's one of those things that I'm just letting it go. I'm letting it go. I don't know what happened. Yeah, just let it go. But I mean, like, I can imagine, like, this is the only water, and then, the one machine broke, so they had to they're telling, you've been standing in line for 5 hours, and you're, like, third in line, and they're like, oh, the machine broke, you have to go stand at the end of that line. I'd be like,
yeah.
No, honey, no. So, I get that.
Yeah. So, I'm really excited, actually, for Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. It's coming out. I think it might be July.
I just saw them post about it, like whoever's publishing it. I saw it on Instagram and I was like, that's the one that she was talking about.
Yeah.
And I've liked some stuff. I haven't liked some stuff, but yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I think I've only read one book by him, which was The Cabin at the End of the World.
Yeah.
But I gave it 5 stars, and I loved the ambiguous ending, and I loved how dark it was. Like, so many people were like,
it was so dark.
Yeah, so many people were like upset about what happened, but to me, I was like, yeah, in real life, things like that happen. Like,
I hope not, but like, I guess it could. Like these crazy people, seriously.
Yeah,
it freaked me out because it was so funny. Like when I went to go read that book, I think I read it like last summer, and I don't know if I read it like right when we got back from vacation or I was reading it right before vacation. But I read my husband the synopsis of that, and he's like, "Oh, you have to let me know." And I was like, you don't want to know what's going on right now. It is so crazy.
Yeah. So I'm really like, that is the reason I'm bringing up that book is because it's like an apocalyptic, like dystopian.
I really liked that one too.
Yeah. And then with Survivor Song, like it's an adult book. So I'm curious to see if I'll like that, like end of the world, like Survivor Song or whatever. Also, if it's just because this was YA, I'm curious to see, because I haven't read like a huge amount of apocalyptic books, so I don't know exactly what my tastes are.
Right.
And I do like the dystopian type of theme when I've read it before. So yeah, I'm curious to see like my thoughts on like an adult end of the world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited. I did not like
we should buddy read it.
We should. Let's do
it.
Yeah, let's do it for sure. But like but in The Cabin at the End of the World, I didn't like that ambiguous ending. I mean, I did, but I didn't. It was like I loved it so much because I was like, was it the end of the world or was it? But then, I didn't, because I was like, okay, I need to know. I need to know. Yes or no, what's going on?
So the funny thing is like, okay, so I'm a very realistic person.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So to me, in my mind, it was not the end of the world. The people were just crazy, but that's me. That's how I think. And so I'm curious to see, like,
Man.
you think, like,
I don't know.
you think, but you're like, oh, I love fiction. So, like, what do you actually think?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea, because
This is the big question of the night.
oh my gosh, this is, like, I literally have no idea. Okay, to be honest, it probably wasn't the end of the world, but for all that family went through, I hope it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because, like, man, but like I do some ambiguous. I think I have a love-hate relationship with ambiguous endings, because, like, The Giver, my favorite book of all time. Shout out to The Giver. It also has an ambiguous ending, and yes, later on, very much later, she wrote books 2, 3, and 4, and I've read all of them, and they don't hold up, to be honest. But we're not going to talk about that because Lois Lowry's queen. Yeah, so I don't know, was it the end? Because you do have these, like, fanatics out there that get crazy, and you have cults, and that's what it felt like to me. It felt a little cultish, you know, but
oh my gosh, speaking of cults, have you watched Midsummer? Have you watched that movie?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I have to, right?
Yeah, it's all about cults. And I think I watched it on Hulu.
Okay.
It's so good.
Okay, I don't have Hulu, but I need to get on the Hulu bandwagon, I think.
Okay, yeah. So, like, do a free trial and just watch. No, wait, it's not Hulu. It's Amazon Prime, I think. Okay,
I have that, so hey.
Okay, so it's called Midsummer, and it's about cults, and it's super dark and super messed up, but, like, I loved it because the whole time, like, my husband and I were watching it, we were like, this happens in real life. Like, there are actual cults in, like, the world, and, like, this actually happens. Like,
that's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is. And, like, to me, that's what makes a book or a movie just, like, so much better and so much more realistic. Like, I do love horror movies, but I like movies that are like that, where it's like a cult, or for instance, like Parasite, where it's like that stuff could actually happen, makes it scarier than, like, a ghost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think scary things based on things that are real are definitely scarier than, like, ghosts and vampires and stuff like that.
I mean, those would be scary if they were real. Then I would be super scared.
And who knows if they are. But there was actually this one cult book I was going to tell you about, but I don't remember the title. I read it a long time ago, but it was so good.
Oh, you gotta send
and
it.
I know I'll have to find it, but oh my gosh, it was so good. It was around the same time. Was it that book, Emma?
Oh, Emma Klein, The Girls?
Okay. No.
Okay.
No, I think that was it. But it wasn't that book. Because I read that book and I was like, I think it was called, like, Cruel Beautiful World or Cruel Beauty, or I don't know. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to let you know. It was so good. That's what I wanted Emma Klein's The Girls to be. The Girls was like, it was not it.
Oh,
it was not it.
Okay.
It was not
on my shelf, but I haven't read it yet.
I mean, some people, it was a New York Times bestseller. There was a lot of hype. People loved it. But I was like, if you read this other book,
you got to send me the other book. You have to.
Yeah. I think, what is it called? I'll look it up later. But yeah.
There's a book, I think, called The Rona Girls that I think is also a cult book, too.
Yeah, I have that on my wish list. You were telling me about that. Yeah. So someone had recommended it, and, like, I was watching a YouTube video, like, a long time ago, because someone sells me on a book, I'm like, okay, adding it to the wish list. And I mean, it's literally been on my wish list forever, but I was like, yes. So,
yeah, I just need, like, all of the cult recs, all of the dark survival recs. Like, yeah, that's what I need in my life.
Yeah, I have to find it. I don't even know how to find it, but I will. I'll find that book recommendation because it was so good.
Yeah. Oh, Christine said, I have Rona Girls. I still haven't read it. And then Susan said, no, I have to have a decided ending to make it worth my while to read the book.
Yes, I feel that.
Christine,
Yeah.
we need to like, oh my gosh, I feel like you're like part of this group right now.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, I like those books too, Jack. Yeah, Cult and Survival. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
those are,
for
like,
sure.
some of my favorites. Well, when I'm done with the Roanoke Girls, I can always send it to you, Gwen, if you want.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, yeah.
I like that.
Because I swapped for it recently, and so it should be coming in the mail in a couple days. And then after I'm done reading it, I can always give it to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Awesome. If it's good. If it's not good, then maybe you don't want it. I don't know.
But then maybe you won't like it, and I will.
Like it then, yeah.
I'll be like 5 stars.
Oh my gosh. I feel like this happens to me with every other person ever. I have a 5-star book. People are like, no, gross. Like,
no. No, one book that you've recently recommended a lot. And then Gabby read it, and then everybody was like, "Oh, I heard about this book because Gabby was like that dream."
Oh, the Dream Daughter? Yeah.
Yes. Ever since you talked about that, I've like, I want to read that book. And I don't read a lot of historical fiction, whatever.
Neither do I.
But I was like, but the subject matter, I feel like I would be there for.
Yeah.
And like both of you gave it 5 stars. So I'm like, I think I might like it. So I want to give that one a try too.
It's such a good book. And like, I made myself read. I had to read it because I was playing Bookopoly in my book club. And when I picked up that card, because it was actually recommended by somebody else, and in my pile, it was like a recommended pile. And I picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I have to read this book. Like, this is a historical fiction book. I hate historical fiction. And then I read it and I was like, wow, I can't believe I wasn't going to read this book. Like, what?
Okay,
so I not like historical fiction, and it's totally not even like that. Like, I know it's like that is technically, I guess, the genre, but it's like historical fiction, sci-fi. It's also like emotional. Like, it's such a unique book. Like,
yeah. I think
so
it's gonna pull up my heartstrings. I think I'm gonna love it. So yeah. That's one I definitely want to pick up.
I can't wait.
Sooner rather than later. Yeah, I know. There's always those books that like we read and we're like, everybody read this book, and then you hear someone reading it, you're like, yes.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the book you're reading right now.
I know. I'm excited. I found that book that I was talking about. It's called Cruel, Beautiful World. Here it is.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It just has those 70 cult vibes right there on the cover for you.
It does. Yeah.
So, yeah. And this is
Cruel, Beautiful World. Is that what you said?
Yeah. And it's Caroline Levitt, or I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what it was like. Oh, it was so good. I read it a while ago. I don't even remember when it came out, but it's Impossible Legacy of a Family. It's 1969. Oh, so good.
Oh, it looks so good. Okay, I cannot wait. I'm gonna have to add that to my wish list.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah,
good.
Actually,
I read that when I got it. I never like had a physical copy. I got like a ARC or something like that of it, but I need to get a copy of that and reread it because that was good. I liked it.
Yeah. Christine said another cult book is Within These Walls by Anya Alborn. I heard it is good, but again, I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
I tried. So a lot of people talk about Anya as like a really good horror author. And I was probably not in the mood to read the book because I tried to start, was it like Brother, I think? And I just wasn't in the mood to read it. So I like put it down, but I've heard really good things about Anya. So I think I need to give her a second try.
Yeah, I've never heard of her before, but I wanted to interrupt. Someone said that The Dream Daughter was on Book Outlet. Is that what they said?
Oh, wow. Really?
$3 a Book Outlet. I'm like, buy it, people, buy it.
Oh
I was like, and I know like your code, it's down below.
Yeah. Which, I did not realize it was on there, but I am going to be making a video eventually, well, like probably next month, of like all the books that are on Book Outlet that I've actually already read and loved.
Okay, so perfect.
Yeah, so I'll look.
Yes.
I'm literally gonna have to be on the Book Outlet site for like hours.
Oh, I'm sure you are. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like $2.85. I was like, wow.
You have to read it, Christine. Yeah, if it's on Book Outlet, like please, everybody go buy it. Like, Yeah.
But not before I get my copy, so.
$2.95. Oh my gosh. Wow,
Like,
that is crazy. I need to like just buy copies and like hand them out to people.
A huge giveaway. Gabby's, Jacqueline's favorite book giveaway.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, Within These Walls by Anya. I gotta look and see what this is.
Yeah, I'm so interested in that.
Oh, it is about a cult leader. Okay. Adding that. I think I'm just gonna have to make a whole video about me reading cult books. Be like,
that'd be awesome.
Wow, that should be a readathon. That'd be a good readathon. How come no one's ever done that?
Cultathon.
Cultathon. All the crazies get together and read.
I've already given you the name, people. Someone make it happen.
Would love that, Jacqueline, but my credit card will get damaged. Oh, going to Book Outlet. Yeah. Oh, wow. And it's hardcover. Wow. Book Outlet. They're the real MVP.
They are.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It was such, Dream Daughter is such a good book.
Yeah.
But yeah. So any more thoughts on Dry? Do you want to, do you have any favorite parts that you liked?
Oh yes, I did mark my favorite quote in here that I think kind of like sums everything up. I'll touch on a couple of other things. I did tab a couple of things. Oh, I thought it was so sad when Kelton's brother got shot by his own dad. I was like, really? Because like, but then it was kind of like, oh, you've been in the bug out the whole time, have you?
Yeah. And then you ate all the food and water. I was like so pissed.
I was devastated. I was like, I can't imagine. They're trying to get there. Like everything's gonna be great. Yeah. And then so that was really sad. And I think the dad like changed his ways a little bit like after that happened. I also liked Jackie seemed like such a hard character, like I live on the streets and I break into people's houses and that type of teenage character, like she's a badass, right?
She reminded me of the Violet from what's that Disney movie with the superheroes?
You're like,
The Incredibles.
Yes.
She reminded me of Violet for some reason. I don't know.
So she's one of those characters, but she left the medicine at the uncle's house. I was like, oh, so she does care a little bit. Like, that's sweet. Yeah. And my favorite quote is like way towards the end. It's on 364, at least in my copy. And it says, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's way too long. But the part that I like says, and I realized that this is the true core of human nature. When we've lost the strength to save ourselves, we somehow find the strength to save each other. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really sweet. And I think that really speaks to Alyssa's character, how she's really trying to save the world, but like save herself and her family and stuff like that. Yeah. So I thought that was like just a really good quote to kind of like wrap up like what it was about. The other thing, just to get back to the snapshots part of it, I usually do not like in Fangirl, the little fan fiction parts in between the book. I hated that. I started skipping that. And I loved Fangirl. I loved it. Rainbow Rowell, her contemporary, her YA contemporary was like my favorite stuff. Hated Carry On. Comment in the comments. I don't care. I don't like the fiction and fiction. And I've never been a fan of that. But I think the reason why I was a fan of it in here, even though it wasn't like, a fiction and fiction or whatever, but I am a huge fan of The Walking Dead, especially like the first 4 to 5 seasons. The earlier seasons I was a total fan of. I haven't been watching the current-ish stuff. Same. But I'm a huge fan. And I always, in the fandom, they always talk about, like I was saying earlier, you're in Rick Grimes' group. So, of course, you're going to root for them. And, the people that they pick up along the way, of course, you're immediately going to be attached to them, too. But then, if you were on the opposite side and that was your group, how would it be? So I literally wrote down all of the snapshots, the John Wayne Airport, the KZLA News, there was that activist and that OCWD, the Orange County Water Transport, David Chin, the plant manager, that interstate scene, There was that Target store incident thing. That was a little creepy. That guy that was like, get in the van. I was like, don't get in the van. Don't do it, guys.
You were like, you were taught this your whole life.
I was like, there's enough going on. There's no water. Don't get in the van. And then there was the Dove Canyon. There was the Los Angeles Fire Department, the pilots, the Disneyland. So there were lots of other snapshots of other things that were happening on the outside of just these teenagers. So you know how you were saying like the parents were so absent and stuff like that. I felt like all of these other snapshots had adults. Like the John Wayne Airport was like Dalton. He was so you see what he's doing and what he's going through. And then you have the news anchor and then Camelia Cohen and the transport driver and stuff like that. So you are seeing like different snapshots through an adult perspective. But they were so short, but I liked that it gave us like a different viewpoint, a different like, okay, what's happening outside of this little bubble of Alyssa and Kelton. So I think that's what made it a little bit stronger for me and made me think about the big picture rather than just it being so unbelievable that these teenagers are doing this on their own and where's their parents and, all of this. Henry, even at the end when they're giving him like he's on the news and like the whole thing's over and he's like, and they see him on the news, I was just pissed. I was like, why? Why is he getting all this credit as like saving the world and the new normal? That was like part 6. And I don't understand why they did Disneyland so much though. I mean, I guess if you live out in California, like Southern California, that's like a big thing, but like, I don't know. Maybe that was for the white audience. And then I loved how like Jackie ran off and you don't know what happened to her until like the very end. I loved that too. I love that. So you do get what happens later. What's the new normal? But I like that we kind of checked in with everybody and.
Yeah, I thought the like sentence at the end was, or like the 2 sentences at the end were really good, where it was like, or the little paragraph, it was like, wasn't it Jackie who told us that the human body is 60% water? Well, now I know what the rest is. The rest is dust, the rest is ash, it's sorrow and it's grief. But above all of that, in spite of all of that, binding us together is hope and joy. And I think that was like really relatable to like now also, because like everyone is very like sad that they have to like stay inside, but it's like things like this where we can like still talk to each other and stuff is like, you do have to hold on to that hope. Like you can't just think about all the bad things that are happening at the moment.
And I think there's tons of people out there that are the negative Nancy's or that do just have depression and stuff like that. And they don't know how to get out of those ruts. So there needs to be a balance. There needs to be the good people, the people that are going to get on their balconies and have this music thing like they did in Italy or wherever. So I think there needs to be a balance. And I think that just speaks to the whole book. And maybe that was the balance of Neal Shusterman and his son, Jared Shusterman, writing it. Like maybe that was the balance. And I like that it had like the positive and the negative and the parents and the teenagers balancing. It was just overall like a balanced story, I felt. So I really liked it. I'm so glad that we did this though, because I probably would not have picked it up for a while. It's been sitting on my shelves for a while. Me too. And I probably like, if it wasn't for this and what the coronavirus thing and all that, I probably would not have read it right now. But I'm glad I did, because I think I was like more connected to it, and I liked like the hope aspect of it a little bit more, and like the needing to reach out, trusting someone. Like I don't know who's a Survivor fan out there, but I'm a huge Survivor fan.
Me? I just started watching it.
I'm so happy. But like even on that show, like they're like, trust no one. Yeah. But at the same time,
but you have to.
You have to form connections with somebody. You have to vote with somebody. You have to
you have to take a chance.
Yes.
Time.
Even if it doesn't work out. Like with Henry. It didn't work out. When he faked them out with the water.
Oh my gosh, in the box, yeah. And he was like, I never said there was water in there. And I was
so pissed off. But yeah, like that was a chance where they took a chance on him and he kind of screwed them over. But like they took a chance on Jackie and it worked out, So yeah.
Nicole said a lot of those characters in the snapshots interacted with our main characters in some way throughout the story.
Yes. I especially picked that up on the page 224, the Target snapshot where Haley, she was the one that that was to the Costco chapter, like when she went to Costco and the mom was like talking about the water situation and like the ice situation and all of that. And then I was like, oh, this is the same person. They were like, they played soccer together, or I don't know, they played some sports or something together. And I was like, oh, that's the same person.
Yeah. And then, yeah, Christine said, OMG, Henry, that was so at the end of the news.
Oh, I was so mad.
And then the romance was one of the most pointless things in the entire book. Like,
I didn't pick up on the romance, really.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't, like, to me, there wasn't really romance. Like, I do understand that, like, there was a little bit of, like, back and forth that, like, could have been turned into a romance. But I think as a teenager, that's expected. Like, of course, if you're like hanging around with people your age, like there's going to be like, there was probably some type of like attraction of some sort.
And I think they were neighbors, like Alyssa and Kelton, they were neighbors. Yeah. And he had like a kind of crush on her.
And he was like the weird boy and stuff. And I was like, yeah. Sure, he's the weird boy.
Yeah. But, so, I mean, it didn't need to be in there, but it didn't bother me that it was, because it was such like a small part that it was like.
And it didn't get full blown. Like if it would have been full blown romance, I would have been like, what the heck is that? No,
you can't have this right now. Water is key. Oh my God. Mentioning water. I was thinking about kissing and with the saliva, and they were licking it like other people's saliva.
Yeah. Like when they spit in his face or whatever.
Yes.
It was when like she
and they were like
in like the water zombie's face.
That was dark too, I thought. I was
like, ew. Yeah. Did Henry trade the vehicle for the brothers' water and the group didn't know? Well, he traded the vehicle for like a sip of water from those guys.
Yeah.
Because like some of the water fell on his shoe and he was like,
I think he did trade the vehicle for the water. I think they said, we'll give you a taste. And then after he had the taste to get more, he said, we have this vehicle back there. He was such a douchebag. Henry was the douchebag of the story. But like, I think you need that in this story. You know, it can't be like, everybody's here to save the world. Yeah.
I feel like anytime like we watch shows, like especially like when we just started Survivor, I think we're on like episode like 3 or 4 or whatever, but we're always like, the stupid people. Like we're always talking about the stupid people.
Yeah.
So funny. Susan said, makes me think of Bird Box, trusting people, very little romance, horror vibes. Yes, like Bird Box is such a good dystopia and the world book. Like in my opinion, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it so much. And it was, even though like what's happening isn't realistic in and all of itself, it's like the idea behind it is super realistic of like surviving in the same way. Have you read Bird Box?
I haven't read it, but I have watched the show, like movie on Netflix, like twice. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Sandra Bullock fan, so I mean, I totally appreciate it. I know there's people that like read the book, they're like, oh my God, it's so crap. But like, I loved it. So, and I don't plan to read the book just because like after I've seen the movie, like I kind of know what's going to happen. I'm sure there's stuff that hasn't happened, but I don't.
Very similar to the book and the movie are very similar. And I think they did an amazing job with the movie. Like I loved the movie too. And people were like, no, like this is stupid. But like I like both of them, but I think that if you've done one, like you don't really need to do the other one.
Okay, good.
It does have a little bit more detail and like some scary scenes that they didn't put into the movie, but like maybe wait like 20 years and then read it.
Yeah, exactly. And then by then, like, who knows?
Right. They said Henry was.
But that's that's a good comparison though. I actually skipped the chapters that followed all those newscasts. Well, I totally see that because usually the fiction in fiction is totally not my vibe, but because I was doing this live show, like if I would not have, if I wasn't, I probably would have been like, skip that. Like, but because I was, and I was enjoying it, I did. And once I found out, like the first one, I was kind of like, okay, what does this have to do with anything? Like, why are we? But then, like, once a couple were happening, some of the snapshots I enjoyed more than the others. Like the Target one, I really liked. The airport one, relatable. The news one, I wasn't really into. So there were some that I liked more than others, but I could totally see someone skipping that and it didn't affect the story. I think that those could have totally been taken out and you would have got the same story. So
yeah. Cool. But this is actually a really good book though to like discuss. Like,
oh yeah,
I feel like sometimes the books that I pick, like, there's not as much detail or like plot, I guess, that goes into it. And I feel like this one was a really good one. Plus, you're really good at discussing things.
Okay, so my top 4 reasons why I liked it and I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. Number 1, the writing. This felt very much Neal Shusterman to me. I've only read the Scythe trilogy by him. I've never read like the Unwind trilogy or whatever that's called. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's put out like tons of other books, but I've only read Scythe and I loved Scythe. I rated the first book 5 stars, the second book 5 stars, and the last book 4 stars. But overall as a series, I'd say 5 stars. But so the writing just immediately sucked me in. I was immediately interested. It was easy enough writing, but it didn't feel like juvenile, even though it was YA. And like I said, I don't read a ton of YA anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I still love YA, but it was easy to get into, good writing, good characterization, all that. But I liked the characters. I liked that there was Alyssa, who was pretty smart for her age, Kelton, who came from the family that, you know, kind of was prepared for this. I liked Jackie's character. Even though I hated Henry's character, I needed that character to hate. And I loved Garrett. He was just a little sweetheart. Oh my gosh. And then I loved the plot of it. I loved that it did follow something that could actually happen. They're always talking about California not having enough water and you know, conserve water and stuff like this. So that part of it was like really believable to me. Like, who knows how close we are to something like that happening. And I was able to mirror it to things that were happening. So the writing, the characters, the plot, and I thought it was not predictable. The intricacies that happened to the characters and, you know, the people that joined and things like that. So all of those things just, I had to give it 5 stars. Highly recommend. Like I said, it was just really good. Follow your gut, allow other people in, exploring the human condition while people are at their worst, mentally, physically, stuff like that. It
looks like Bookshade found you from this live video.
Yay!
And then I wish the book was a bit longer so we could see what the world before everything went down was like. The water crisis happened almost immediately. It would have been nice to know some of the neighbors.
That's something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I like when books hop into something dramatic because it's like keeping me like entertained at first.
Yeah.
I guess to me, it just didn't, like, I don't mind that as long as I guess they would have just mentioned like how long, I don't know. It's like I wanted to hop in right away, but then the way that it hopped in, like it was like there was a water zombie the next day, and it was like, well, how did you run out of water all the way? But maybe I just didn't understand the timeline of the book correctly.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it did, like I was saying earlier, people that are tuning in later or whatever. I think that some people would have benefited for a little bit of build up to the water actually turning off. But it actually starts on the water was shut off already. And now it's day 1, Saturday, June 4th. The kitchen faucet makes the most bizarre sounds. It coughs and it wheezes. And it gurgles like someone's drowning. Da da da. I think she was trying to feed her dog Kinston. Kinston's whatever. Water bowl. So yeah, it does definitely jump into it. It does touch on it a little bit about, you know, on like the media, and they're saying like, oh, they were always talking about that river or whatever it was. So I think some people would have benefited for a little bit more like backstory, like how did they actually run out of water? But I think they were focusing on like, okay,
what happened?
We've run out of water.
Yeah.
Now what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
So
I did like the part at the end where Garrett was like turning the faucet on and off, and how Alyssa was saying like, you know, he's not doing it to waste water. It's just like wow, I can't believe that I can have water when I want to
Yeah,
have water.
yeah. I
And
thought
do
that was
think,
really cool.
yeah, I'm not sure how long the timeline was of this whole book. Cause like, I mean, I do think that was the 2 weeks later part. And so I do feel like you would probably feel that way. I don't know, like, would I feel that way after 2 weeks? Probably, because I've been without water for like 5 days at my own house and been like, wow, I can take a shower. Like, how awesome is this? So, I mean, I do think that was a good, like, I liked that was included where like he's
Yeah,
turning the
so
water
I
on and off.
guess, yeah, because it was talking about, so it started on June 4th. That was day number 1. And then what is it called? The new normal starts June 25th.
So that's a pretty good time period.
Yeah.
Because I think you can only go without water at all for 3 days, right? I think that's how
I think that's what they say. And there were people definitely, I mean, there were a lot of people that died.
Like hundreds of thousands, yeah.
Yeah. But I think even like it was in that new normal part where Alyssa's talking about soapy sponge, wet washcloth, dry towel, repeat. And how
like
they're still not taking normal showers because they're still nervous about it. And how do you recover after that? I wish they would have went into that maybe a little bit more, and maybe it wouldn't have been just like a quick little thing. But I realized like the whole point of the book was this is the crazy story of what happens when the water gets turned off.
Yeah. The thing that so like, for instance, coronavirus right now, like obviously the whole world is going through this. Yes. But this book, it wasn't the whole world.
Right.
And so why couldn't they send in like bottles of water from other
They were trying that. They had the planes that were trying to deliver, but they just couldn't get enough supply, kind of like toilet paper. People have toilet paper out there. Like there's people out there in the world that have toilet paper. It's just they're hoarding it. Or just the supply, because like with the coronavirus specifically, you got to think like, okay, we have a shortage of toilet paper, or we have a shortage of XYZ, whatever your personal grocery store has a shortage of. Like there's people out there that need to be working to make sure that that's getting to your grocery store. Yeah. And like, just thinking about people like working in the grocery stores and stuff like that. Like,
and I guess because the hurricane was happening. So like
the hurricane was happening, but then like they were trying to get out. There was the airport. People were trying to get out. That was the perspective. You know, Dalton was trying to get out, but he couldn't because all the flights were canceled. Or you had it was the interstate Charity. She was trying to get out and go to like some other place, but she couldn't because the whole interstate was backed up. People were getting out of their cars and all this craziness was happening. So it's just kind of like a hurricane or another natural disaster or another pandemic of some kind, where you think like, okay, we're out of water here, but like, let me drive to, where Jackie lives. Like she has water right now, and you just can't get there. So, and like, even with this coronavirus thing, like my brother-in-law and his whole family were supposed to come see us, but they live in Denmark, and they actually had their plane tickets and all of that, and no travel. So they couldn't get here even if they wanted to. Yeah.
There was, another thing that I thought actually was like really good in the book was the point that where they said like, and I feel like this happened with like the coronavirus too. And like even other like natural disasters, or like, I mean, not even just natural ones, but like there was like a 3-hour time span from when like the government, I guess, or like the news broadcasted that like the tap out happened, but then like everyone was just kind of like in this like, is this really happening type of thing, and no one like really was going out at the moment to be like, all right, let's fix this. Like it was like,
like all those neighbors came out of their houses.
Water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happened too, because like I was vlogging for the Backlist Readathon on the Friday that all of the coronavirus stuff kind of like happened. Like I feel like it was weird. Like I feel like it all happened in one day. Like I remember it was like Friday, I went to go get my haircut that morning, and like I came back that afternoon, and like just everything was being broadcasted, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening right now? Like this corona stuff is actually real now. Like
I felt real. The same way, because I'm a teacher, so I work Monday through Friday, and I took off on a Friday, and the 20th. I took off on March 20th. And over that weekend and then that Monday, we had a work day and then we've been off ever since. So it's just so weird how like quickly it did happen. And then I remember knowing you live in Virginia, I was like, did you just see what the governor said? So it was like things happen kind of quick and kind of crazy. And I think that, you know, people do the best with what they can, you know?
Yeah. But it was weird because like, you know, at that moment when they were talking about, like, for instance, when they were talking about it in China, like we're over here in the United States and we're like
the
whatever,
first case,
like we don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
Like, I was like one of those people, I was like, oh, are the Olympics going to be canceled? Oh, that's so, oh. And then I was like, oh, wow, I'm glad they're canceling the Olympics.
Yeah. And then when that Friday happened, it was like, oh, maybe I need to like go get groceries, but like, let me just wait it out over the weekend. You know what I mean? And so, and then that's when it, like all the toilet paper was going out like Monday or whatever. Thankfully I had some, but like still, it was just like, yeah, that like lull that they were talking about in the book, like that's real. Like that is so
that is
real.
Very good point. Very good point. Because I remember like talking to my coworkers, we were like, are you going to the grocery store today? Like, or how long are we going to be out of work for? Like, is this a thing?
Yeah. Is this like a week?
Like, is this like we're having like an extended vacay or like what's going on?
Well, and like people started saying about how like they like weren't like they started saying they weren't going to work or something, or like, oh, the students, like, because I work at a college, so the students were being like sent home and they were like, all right, see you in 2 weeks, like bye. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I was like, yeah, they're probably gonna make us like clean for 2 weeks and then we're just gonna have to keep working. And like, yeah, never thought that like I'd be not working. Like it's so weird to think about that. Like I was just like, yeah, you know, probably just still working through this, like, ha ha ha, you know.
And me as a teacher, I'm like, bye guys. No, I love my students. I really do. But at the same time,
you teach pre-K, you were like to like what, 5-year-olds, you were like, see ya.
Have fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, someone said, Christine. I love that when they turn on the water, we appreciate something we take for granted. And yes, people do not realize how much we take for granted. I mean, even going to the grocery store and being able to get groceries, electricity,
going to the movies,
going
restaurants,
to the internet, like having your phone work, like all restaurant. I thought you said French fries at first. And I was like, yeah, that's French
fries.
I agree with you, Jacqueline. When some people are in disbelief and may think it isn't real, I felt that way too. Yeah. I think that happens with anything you gotta go through. Even, you know, like, I mean, if someone would get in like a car accident, like you just, like, it's so hard to think about, like, you know, this is actually happening in real life.
And I think that goes back to the news thing that you were saying, like that they didn't cover it in the news, like right off because the hurricane was happening. And I know there's some people that rely, like, it's like the news is the right to die. Like they live by the news, that the news is it. The news is their main source. And I think that's what probably screwed a lot of people in this book.
Yeah, so. I agree. Yeah. Kat said that she worked Saturday and then on Monday her job was closed indefinitely. Like, oh, okay, goodbye. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so school's canceled? Cool. Yeah. Summer's coming early.
Yeah. I know. I mean, like, the thing is like, yeah, I love being able to like be at home and stuff. I'm such a homebody. So like, to me, it didn't matter as much, but I have to still think about like, okay, sure. Like I have a lot of good things happening right now, but some people are really struggling. And so like, you know, I still have to try and think realistically, like, you know, there are people that this is really affecting, or like the economy it's affecting and stuff like that.
Yeah. You're trying to save the world.
Yeah, same thing with the book. Like, yeah, people actually died. It was actually weird how like the book said like, oh, that was the most deaths that happened from like, I don't forget how it worded it, but like from a situation. And I was like, you haven't heard about the coronavirus apparently. Like,
I know, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, like I said at the very beginning, if people are tuning in later, whatever, I was saying like it was raining so much here in Virginia. Like while I was reading it and I was just like, I hate the rain. I'm such a like sunshine beach like person. And to know that like all this rain was just putting a damper on my parade, I was not here for it. But then I was like, shut up, Gwen. cannot complain about it raining right now. There's people without water that are dying. Like,
yeah. But then I guess people that have like had their homes flooded probably think that, where they're like, why are people complaining about sunshine? Like,
yeah,
the rain is terrible. Like,
the world is a terrible place. Yeah.
Yep. This was a good book to discuss, though.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a good book to discuss, especially right now, because we can draw so many comparisons and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, if you liked it, if you didn't, like, I think you can see both sides, like why someone would like it, why someone wouldn't. So,
yeah. So if anybody has any more questions or comments, definitely put them in the comments now, because we're going to be wrapping this up in the next couple minutes, and I don't want to like miss anybody's question. Let's see. Someone said, or Nicole said goodbye to my students on the 13th of March. Didn't know it was going to be the last time until, it was literally, I think, like the 14th or 15th for me as well, whatever that Friday was.
Yeah, I think that not being able to say goodbye to students, like I teach pre-K, so I teach the little guys that are like 4 and 5 years old. But there's some that will be coming to our school next year, and then there's some that won't, and I'll never see them again, possibly. Aww. I still don't know what's happening in June, so we still usually work 2 weeks in June, and they haven't really said anything about that. But I mean, kind of at this point, I'd rather just like cut my losses, because trying to think about going back for 2 weeks in June is like torture. But yeah, it's hard to like not be able to say goodbye, but like I have their phone numbers, so I can always call them.
Yeah. Oh,
good question about your t-shirts.
I've been.
Did you see that?
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll get to that one.
Okay.
I've been laid off too, but at least I can catch up on my TBR. Yeah, I mean, it's good to be able to catch up. And I think the thing is like, and I mean, I know there's a lot of bad things that are happening right now, but like, or people that are struggling. But I do think that the world in general needed to take a step back and slow down a little bit. So I feel like for some people, this was needed to be like, okay, you can go, but like you also have to appreciate.
Yes, I think this showing that you need to appreciate like what you have, like the water. If it's raining, like don't complain, because it may not rain the next. I mean, I find it hard to believe that in 20 days it didn't rain until like, you know.
They say it doesn't rain a lot in California though.
I know, but still, I'm
which
like,
is weird to me.
Come on, God, they needed the rain.
Yeah.
But I do think that appreciating like what you have and stuff like that is an important lesson to learn.
Yeah. Christine, yes, I do still sell t-shirts and sweatshirts. I actually have one of mine on right now that I have to self-control. I pretty much just live in these. I actually can't remember if I have it linked below, so I'll go check. And
is it like a separate shop that you can just like?
Yeah, so it's on it's a like website called Bonfire, so I can like design the stuff on there.
That's fun.
Yeah, and then I started it because of my online book club. And so we we just liked having shirts, and it was cheaper than like us buying like, you know, a bookish shirt from like Etsy or something. And so, yeah, but it's cool because I can create like whatever I want to create. So I will check, and I'll put the link starting in the description boxes for all of my videos, like following all of this stuff.
Yes, you need to come up with a design for the Booktubers and Brews.
Yeah, I really do, actually.
You do, and then everybody that joins gets a free t-shirt.
Gets a shirt.
Wear it for the show.
Actually, that would be so cute.
It would be really so cute. I've already kind of come up with a design in my head for it.
Okay, you sent it to me. Yeah, that would be really, really cute. I'll definitely have to do that. Someone said, oh, Christine, you do have the sweatshirt. Okay, so yeah. And then someone said, how much are the shirts? They all range in different prices because the t-shirts are like cheaper to make than like a big like hoodie or sweatshirt. But they're usually cheaper than like going to like, I don't know, Etsy and buying one, or like, I don't know, like the beach where everything is like marked up. Like I think I paid like 18 or 19 for this t-shirt, which if you like go on Etsy, they're like $30 or something.
Yeah,
but like
29 or yeah.
It's like such good quality. Like they're the softest t-shirts ever. And like I wear them like all the time. You probably like see them in like all my videos. I'm just like always in my book merch. But yeah, they're so great. Yes, you should for specialty shirts. Good one, Gwen. So I joined a little late, so I don't know if you guys talked about it, but how did you feel about
Yes.
neighbor's brother dying?
Kelton's brother dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. That was tragic that happened. I knew it as soon as the whole, like, there was a moment. I mean, at first I thought it was going to be that guy, the neighbor that needed it for his baby or whatever. I thought it was going to be like him coming back. But then there was a moment that, because they kept talking about the brother, I was like, OMG, it's going to be the brother, please, no. And it was, and then he got shot and all of that. And that was crazy. And I think that that's interesting that totally changed Kelton's dad's point of view. And then, like, what happened to Kelton's parents because of that. I thought that was interesting. But then I was pissed off at his brother, even though he was dead, that he drank all the water at the bug out and didn't tell nobody. I was upset about that.
I know. That is
that's
like
your safe space. Like, that's why it's the bug out. That's why you don't go there. That's the safe. Like, if you have to go there for whatever reason, you need to reach out to your family and be like, hey, there's no water here. So then Alyssa and Kelton and Jackie wouldn't have spent all the book trying to get there to find out there's no water there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to say it was payback, but like, because that's kind of cruel and unusual, but.
But she means it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. All right, so I found the link for the store that has all the t-shirts. I put it down in the description box for you guys. I sent it in the little chat, but I don't think it's clickable, so it's down in the description box. But yeah, I definitely need to start making some for the Booktubers and Brews.
Yes.
That would be so cute. That would be so cute.
It would be so cute.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, wow, this like went really fast. We've been on here for an hour.
I know.
So yeah, that was some really good discussion, and I'm so glad that you were able to
I'm so glad you asked me. It was so fun.
Yeah, Gwen and I are gonna have to do some buddy reads and some future live shows again, because this was definitely a lot of fun. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I have a video coming out tomorrow because it's Wednesday. I don't know, Gwen, when your next video is coming out, but definitely make sure that you subscribe. Her link is down below, and we'll see you guys in our next videos really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bye-bye.
Bye.